fantasy owners, LTC Fantasy here. Not sure if you're chiming in, watching via YouTube or listening via podcast, but really do appreciate the watch or listen no matter how you're streaming the episode. Before we get started, do want to mention we have partnered up with 247clash.com. Link is down in the description there. It's basically a pools type player versus player fantasy game that's pretty much made winnable for anyone there. So if you do go to www.247clash.com, at the top of the homepage you will see a how to play video. It's about 50 seconds long. Explains how to play the game a little bit better than I can, that's for sure. And if you do decide to sign up and make a deposit, do use referral code LTC, as that does help us out behind the scenes there. And do note it is for Canadian residents only at this time. Might change in the future, but for right now it is for Canadian residents only. So today's our week 22 strategy episode. So we're going to take a look at this week's schedule and break it down and hopefully suggest players that will help strengthen your fantasy roster and help secure that win for you in your leagues. Some things to note this week. Typical light nights. Monday there's 3 games. Wednesday 4 games. Friday 4 games. Sunday there's 7 games there. Only a 2-game week for Detroit and Florida, so really light schedule for those 2 teams. And quite a few teams have 4 games this week, them being Boston, Buffalo, Colorado, Columbus, Dallas, Montreal, Nashville, New Jersey, the Rangers, Tampa, Toronto, Vancouver, Washington, and Winnipeg there. So we will focus on the Monday and Wednesday light nights. We will cover a little bit of Friday and Sunday in our 3 or more light night segment, but we'll cover them more in depth later in the week when we get to our weekend ads episode. We will also cover all 4 game teams, and there's quite a few there, so we will cover players from all of them. We'll start out by covering Colorado, Dallas, and Montreal first, because those 3 teams have 3 games in the first 4 nights this week that can help get you out to that early lead in your leagues. And if you pick one of those players up, drop one of them, pick somebody up that has 2 games on the weekend, depending how you use your player ads, you could potentially get 5 man games out of 1 player slot there. After that, we will cover 5 teams that have 3 or more light nights this week. Those are your lightest nights, probably where your biggest advantage is this week is to stockpile on them. Then we will cover the remaining Monday teams, then the remaining Wednesday teams. Then we will finish by covering all 4 game teams that don't play on Monday or Wednesday there. So basically, we will get right into it. Some D-men that play 3 games in the first 4 nights. Start off in Colorado. Look at Samuel Girard, owned in 24% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing there. He has 11 points his last 11 games, 3 points on the power play, so pretty good power play production. 18 blocks in those 11 games as well. He's been really solid the last little while. That's with Makar in the lineup and with Makar out of the lineup. It's been fairly balanced there, so he should be a good streamer to start the week there. Next one's over in Dallas. Maybe look at Esa Lindell, owned in 13% of Yahoo leagues, plays the second pairing for the Stars there. He has 3 points his last 4 games, and in those 4 games he's also had 8 shots on goal, 8 hits, and 8 blocks in there. Kind of crazy 8s to finish the stat line there. He's not really known for offense, but he always pretty good all around the last little bit there, chipping in every category there. So in a real deep Cats league, he could work out for you. Last one over in Montreal is Michael Matheson, up to 34% owned, playing top pairing, top power play unit, and he has 8 points his last 10 games, so pretty nice production there. Also in those 10 games, he has 29 shots on goal, 16 hits, and 15 blocks in there. He's been good for a while there, the last month or so there, and should be a solid option, especially with the condensed schedule to start the week. Now we'll move along to some forwards that have 3 games in the first 4 nights. Start off in Colorado again. Look at JT Compher, listed as center right winger, owned in 43% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, up on the top power play unit right now. He's been pointless the last 4 games, but before that he put up 10 points in the previous 6 games. So he is a bit streaky, but with 3 games in the first 4 nights to start the week, he could be worth a roll of the dice on there. Over in Dallas, maybe look at Wyatt Johnston, listed as a center, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit, and he has 6 points his last 7 games, and in those 7 games, he's +5, also has 22 shots on goal. He's on a decent roll of late, and in your deeper leagues, he could be a fairly decent option for you. Next one I had listed was Tyler Seguin, but ignore it. He was cut by a skate the other night, and when that generally happens, he's out for a while there. Haven't heard how long, but pretty safe to assume he's probably going to be out at least next week there. Next one in Dallas is Max Domi, listed as center, left winger, and right winger. Owned in 55% of Yahoo leagues, playing third line, second power play unit. With Sagan out, he might get bumped up, hard to say there. But he's had points in 2 straight and 8 shots on goal in those 2 games there. He's getting settled in Dallas there. And with Sagan out, he should move up the depth chart you're figuring, or at least get a little bit more opportunity there. And with that, he could be a good option for you early in the week. Over in Montreal, maybe look at Nick Suzuki, listed as a center, owned in 58% of Yahoo leagues, plays top line, top power play unit, and he has 7 points his last 9 games, and in those 9 games also has 7 blocks in there. He's been better lately. He got really cold after Caulfield went down, and he's been slowly kind of picking it up there, so he could be an okay option early in the week for you. Another one in Montreal to maybe think about is Jonathan Drouin, listed as a left winger, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there, and he has 4 points his last 4 games, and in those 4 games also blocked 3 shots, which is not bad blocking for a forward there. He can be really hit or miss there, so he definitely is risky. Could be kind of a love-hate there, but if you're in a really, really deep league and do stress really deep league, he could be an option for you. Before we do get to the new segment, do want to ask, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so as we're trying to grow it. If you're listening via podcast, give us a 5-star review. Pretty easy to do. That helps get the word out on this show a little bit there. And yeah, that's my own little personal plug, and we'll get into the next one here. Gonna look at some D-men that play 3 or more light nights this week. Out of these teams, Buffalo has a 4-game week, and all 4 of them, they play all 4 light nights. Toronto and Washington, they have a 4-game week, and 3 out of their 4 games are on light nights. And Anaheim and St. Louis, they have a 3-game week, but all 3 of their games are on light nights there. So start off in Buffalo, possibly look at Owen Power, owned in 47% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, second power play unit. He's put up 4 points the last 8 games, couple points on the power play in there as well. So he is kind of hot and cold, so risk is involved. But with all 4 light nights this week, he could turn out to be an okay streaming option. Over in Washington, maybe look at Rasmus Sandin, owned in 35% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing, top power play unit there. And he has 5 points in just his last 3 games. In those 3 games, he's also +3, couple of power play points, also throwing the body around, 8 hits in those 3 games. So he's been good and playing a ton. Like his lot of minutes definitely for him in Washington there. So he should be a solid streaming option for you. Next one over in Anaheim, maybe look at Cam Fowler, owned in 19% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing, top power play unit there. And he has 11 points the last 11 games, couple points on the power play, and 16 blocks in those 11 games. He's gets a good amount of offense, especially lately there, and gets a lot of opportunity, so he should be a decent streaming option for you. Another one in Anaheim, maybe look at Kevin Shattenkirk, owned in 5% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, second power play unit there, and he has 7 points his last 11 games, so over that half point per game there. Couple points on the power play, 20 shots on goal, and 15 blocks in those 11 games. So he's getting okay offense, contributing a little bit in other cats there, so he could be an alright option for your deeper leagues. Now we'll move along to some forwards that get at least 3 or more light nights this week. Remember, out of these again, Buffalo has a 4-game week. All 4 of those are on all light nights there. Toronto and Washington, they have 4-game weeks. 3 of their 4 games are on light nights. And then Anaheim and St. Louis, they're both 3-game weeks, but all 3 of their games are on light nights there. So start off in Buffalo, possibly look at Jack Quinn, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 13% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, second power play unit, and he's put up 9 points the last 12 games there. So he's been okay since moving up to the top line there. He's definitely not losing it for them by any means. He is getting some contributions there and should be an alright option, especially in your deeper leagues. Another one in Buffalo, maybe look at Dylan Cousins, listed as a center, owned in 63% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, top power play unit, and he has 7 points his last 7 games, and in those 7 games, a lot of shots, 24 shots on goal and 4 blocks in those 7 games. It's been a good season for him, definitely a little bit of a coming out party for him, and if he is available in your leagues, a little bit higher ownership creeping up, 63%, should be a very good option if you can get him. Another one in Buffalo is Casey Mittelstadt, listed as a center, owned in 4% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there, and he has 9 points his last 12 games, and in those 12 games, also put 23 pucks on net there. So he's been a bit hit or miss there, but he is in the top 6 now, been up there for a few weeks, so in real deep leagues, he could be worth taking a chance on there. Over in Toronto, maybe look at Kelly Yarncroc, listed as center, left winger, right winger, owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit. And he has 2 goals in the last 3 games there and 8 shots on goal in those 3 games. So with O'Reilly out, he's back in the top 6 there. He is streaky, but you could get some value out of him in your deep leagues there. Over in Washington, maybe look at Tom Wilson, listed as a right winger, owned in 44% of Yahoo leagues. He's playing second line, second power play unit for the Capitals there. He has 7 points his last 9 games. Also in those 9 games, 22 shots on goal, so shooting the puck quite a bit. 23 hits, so definitely throws the body around. That's no surprise with Wilson, but keeping up to his reputation there. And 5 blocks in those 9 games. So he's been all right of late, contributing in most Cats, so he should be a decent streaming option, especially in a Cats league. Another one in Washington, Sonny Milano, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues. He plays second line, second power play unit. He's put up 6 points his last 6 games, and in those 6 games, also +5, got a point on the power play there, also 3 blocks in those 6 games. So he's been decent recently and should be an okay streaming option in your deeper leagues. Another one in Washington's Dylan Strome, listed as center right winger, owned in 19% of Yahoo leagues, playing third line, second power play unit. He's put up 8 points his last 6 games, so definitely a good amount of offense there. 12 shots on goal in those 6 games. He's on a roll of late. He can be a bit streaky, but he could work out for you with the role he's on right now. Another one in Washington, possibly look at TJ Oshie, listed as center right winger, owned in 35% of Yahoo leagues, playing third line up on the top power play unit there, and he has 9 points his last 7 games, so nice over a point per game there. 3 of those 9 points have been on the power play, 14 shots on goal and 16 hits in those 7 games. So he's been good recently and should be a nice streamer for you this week. Next one over in Anaheim's Mason McTavish, listed as center left winger, owned in 21% of Yahoo leagues. He's playing second line, top power play unit for the Ducks there, and he has 6 points his last 5 games. He kind of goes in spurts, so he's kind of on again, off again. He's on again of late there. So with that and with the amount of light nights he has, could be a decent option for you. Next one is Jacob Silverberg, listed as a right winger, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, playing third line, second power play unit there, and he has 5 points his last 7 games, and a couple of those points being on the power play there. He can be very streaky, but he's been producing better of late, so if you're in a real deep, and I mean really deep league, he might be an option for you. Last one's over in St. Louis. Maybe look at Robert Thomas, listed as center right winger, owned in 53% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit, and he's put up 7 points his last 6 games. He's usually pretty consistent offensively, and he's back at it again there, so he should be a very good option for you if he is available there. So now we'll move along to some Seattle defensemen and forwards. They're the only remaining Monday team that we haven't covered yet because we've already covered Buffalo, Toronto, Colorado, Montreal, and Dallas. Just leaving Seattle on the remaining Monday teams there. And we'll start off in the back end. Possibly look at Justin Schultz. Owned in 9% of Yahoo leagues, playing third pairing, but up on the top power play unit right now. He has 3 points his last 6 games, so half point per game there. One of those points being on the power play. Also 10 shots on goal and 6 blocks in those 6 games there. He is very streaky, so he is risky. Started out like a bat out of hell, then he got cold, then he got hot, then he got cold. Okay of late, so on a light night, he is an option for you. Moving up front, possibly look at Jordan Eberle, listed as a right winger, owned in 24% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there, and he has 11 points in his last 11 games, 3 of those being on the power play, and 23 shots on goal in those 11 games, so decent amount of shots there. Overall, he's been decent this year, and with that, he should be a solid option on a light night. Another one up front for Seattle's Matty Beniers, listed as a center, owned in 38% of Yahoo leagues. He also plays on the top line, top power play unit for the Kraken there. And also 11 points the last 11 games, couple on the power play, 7 blocks in those 11 games. So definitely blocks a lot of those shots. Do need to mention though, out of those 11 points, 10 out of those 11 points came in 5 2-point games there. So he is kind of a little bit feast or famine there, but he definitely has talent, and on a light night, could work out for you pretty nicely. Last one in Seattle's Jared McCann, listed as center left winger, owned in 50% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit, and he has 12 points in just his last 8 games. He's on a heck of a roll there. In those 8 games, also +7, 3 power play points, 31 shots on goal, so definitely shooting the puck there, 4 blocks on there. He's definitely been filling the net of late there and be a really great streaming option if he's available in your leagues there. Now we'll move along to some remaining Wednesday D-men. All of these in this segment do have a 3-game week, and we've already covered Anaheim, Buffalo, Washington, Toronto, Colorado, and St. Louis. So that just leaves the Islanders and Minnesota there. So we'll start off with the Islanders. On the back end, look at Alexander Romanov, owned in 16% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing for them. He has 3 points his last 5 games, so not bad offense. And in those 5 games, he's +5, 11 shots on goal, 13 hits, and 8 blocks there. So definitely fills out the rest of the stats there. His offense is hit or miss there, so there definitely is some risk involved. But as I mentioned, he can help in other cats. So he could be an option on a light night to help you out in your Cats league. Next one over in Minnesota, maybe look at John Klingberg, owned in 44% of Yahoo leagues, playing third pairing up on the top power play unit. He's been pointless since joining Minnesota there, but he is on the top power play unit, and it's just a matter of time till he kind of gets settled, so he should be an alright option on a light night. Now we'll move along to some remaining Wednesday forwards. Remember, it's all a 3-game week there for the Islanders in Minnesota, and that we have already covered for Wednesday teams Anaheim, Buffalo, Washington, Toronto, Colorado, and St. Louis there. So we'll start off for the Islanders again. Look at Anders Lee, listed as a left winger, owned in 59% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit, and he has 10 points his last 10 games. 3 of those coming on the power play. 32 shots on goal, so averaging over 3 shots a game there. 19 hits and 7 blocks in those 10 games. He's been really good recently, and he should be a solid option on a light night if he is available there. Over in Minnesota, maybe look at Ryan Hartman, listed as center right winger, owned in 33% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, second power play unit. Have seen some that have listed him on the top power play, someone on the second there, but anyways, he's had 8 points his last 10 games. In those 10 games, 30 shots on goal, 10 hits, and 13 blocks in there. Definitely blocks a lot for a forward there. He's been playing really well, but with Kaprizov out, it will hurt his fantasy value just by how much, not quite sure yet. But in your deeper leagues, he should still be an option for you on a light night. So now we'll move along to some remaining 4-game D-men. All these play 4 games, don't play on Monday or Wednesday though. We'll start off in Boston. Look at Dmitry Orlov, owned in 62% of Yahoo leagues. Playing top pairing, top power play unit there. And he has 9 points in just his last 5 games. And in those 5 games, he's +7, couple points on the power play, 9 shots on goal, 12 hits, 6 blocks. What else can you say? He's been basically a beast since coming over to the Bruins there. And if he's available, grab him. You won't be disappointed, that's for sure. Over in Columbus, maybe look at Adam Boquist, owned in 8% of Yahoo leagues. Playing third pairing, top power play unit. He has 8 points his last 10 games, so pretty nice production there. Half of those points coming on the power play. 4 power play points, 14 blocks in there. He's been decent for a bit and be a nice streaming option, especially in your scoring leagues. Over in New Jersey, maybe look at Damon Severson, owned in 17% of Yahoo leagues. Playing third pairing, second power play unit, and he's put up 4 points the last 5 games. Couple of those coming on the power play, also 8 blocks in those 5 games. It's been up and down season for him, but he is chipping in some recently there, so he's risky, but it could pay off for you. Last one's over in Winnipeg. Possibly look at Dylan DeMello, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues. Plays second pairing for the Jets there. He has 4 points in his last 5 games. And in those 5 games also has 12 hits and 6 blocks in there. Of those 4 points are in 2 2-point games there. And with him, his offense is very sporadic, so don't count on any offense there. But he will get you hits and blocks, that's for darn sure. And if you get that rare 2-point night, just an added bonus for you. So he could help you in some formats there. So now we'll move along this remaining 4-game D-men that don't play on Monday or Wednesday there. Start off in Boston again. Look at Pavel Zacha, listed as center, left winger, and right winger, owned in 21% of Yahoo leagues. Plays second line, second power play unit there, and he has 4 points in his last 5 games. And in those 5 games, he's +3, also has a point on the power play there. Overall, it's been a pretty decent season, and he is versatile that you can play him either center, left wing, or right wing, so he should be an alright option for you. Another one in Boston is David Krejci, listed as a center, owned in 28% of Yahoo leagues. He plays on that second line, second power play unit there, and he has 8 points his last 8 games, and in those 8 games, he's +5, also has 4 blocks in those 8 games. It's been good of late, and overall, it's been a nice season for him, so he should be a decent streaming option. Next one in Boston's Charlie Coyle, also listed as a center, only owned in 7% of Yahoo leagues, plays third line for the Bruins there, and he has 7 points in his last 9 games. And in those 9 games, he has 10 hits and 7 blocks in there. He is streaky, but he's been a lot better recently there, so he could work out for you in your deeper leagues. Over in Nashville, look at Luke Evangelista, listed as a right winger, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit, and he has 4 points in his last 4 games, and in those 4 games he's also +2, has a point on the power play, also 11 shots on goal in those 8 games. Small sample size since being called up, but since he's been called up, he's been pretty good there, so in really deep leagues, he should be an option for you. Another one in Nashville is Thomas Novak. He's listed as a center, owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there. He only has 1 point his last 5 games, but before that he put up 11 points over the previous 5. So he is streaky, but as you can tell, he can get points in bunches there. So he is risky, but it really could pay off for you if you do take a chance and catch him at the right time there. Over in New Jersey, look at Andre Palat, listed as a left winger, owned in 22% of Yahoo leagues, playing third line, second power play unit, and he's put up 5 points the last 5 games, and in those 5 games he's +3, has a point on the power play, also 10 shots on goal and 4 blocks in those 5 games. He is streaky this year, but he is on a small roll of late here, so he should be a not bad option for your deeper leagues. Another one for the Devils is Erik Haula, listed as center left winger, owned in 14% of Yahoo leagues. He plays third line, second power play unit. He's put up 7 points the last 5 games, so pretty damn good for a third liner there. In those 5 games, he's also +3, 4 power play points, 11 shots on goal, and 6 hits there. He is streaky, but he's hot right now there, so he could pay off if you do decide to stream him. Over in Tampa, look at Alex Killorn, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 29% of Yahoo leagues. Playing second line, up on the top power play unit right now. He has 10 points his last 10 games. And in those 10 games, also 3 power play points and 5 blocks in there. He's been good for a little bit here, and with 4 games, he should be a decent streaming option for you this week. Over in Vancouver, look at A.Kuzmenko, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 57% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there, and he has 13 points the last 11 games, and in those 11 games, shooting the puck more, 25 shots on goal there. So he's pretty steady offensively, and if available, will be a very, very solid streaming option for you, especially in your scoring leagues. For the Jets, maybe look at Blake Wheeler, listed as a right winger, owned in 46% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit, 3 points the last 5 games, and in those 5 games, 9 shots on goal and 5 blocks in there. With 3 and 5, not the greatest. He has slowed down some, but overall he's having a really nice season. It's just a matter of time till he bounces back and should be an okay streaming option for you. Last one for the Jets is Nino Niederreiter, listed as a left winger, owned in 31% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit, and he has points in 4 straight games there, one of those being on the power play. Also in those 4 games, has 13 shots on goal and 6 hits in there. He's been good since coming over and joining the Jets there, and with that, he should be a very good option this week. That's it for today's episode. If you're watching via YouTube, do remember to hit like, hit subscribe, remember that notification bell. If you're listening via podcast, remember to give us a 5-star review. That helps us spread the word about the show there. And don't forget to visit www.247clash.com. If you do decide to sign up, please remember to use referral code LTC, as it does help us out there. Starting to get to the end of the grind there, fantasy owners. Good luck in your leagues, and we'll talk to you soon.